we're going to resume out of the executive session. We're not asking for any action to be taken. We will move into our briefing with the treasurer, Lisa Frazier. Morning,
Good morning.
Lisa.
Good morning. So I just have a brief resolution update that we need to do for cash drawers in the auditor's recording department. They've done a remodel next door and their staff is requiring 2 new drawers for recording purposes. So we would be adding 2 more drawers at $50 each for $100, bringing their total drawers to $200. And we would be updating or amending resolution 4008 to do that. Budget, it's $100 hit to their current expense budget for the year, and just moves it to cash. Currently they already have the drawers in place. I've loaned them $100 until we can get the resolution passed. So
I'm supportive, commissioners.
I am as well, as long as they promise not to spend that $100 recklessly.
right.
It frees up.
Commissioner
Sounds
Trask.
good to me.
All right, you got it, Lisa.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Madam Treasurer. All right, Frank, are you on? There he is. All right, next up, we're going to move to support services. Frank Pinter.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
The first item we have on is with Jennifer, and I don't see her on at the moment.
Let's come back to that then.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of items. So let's move to Diane, open space information for Russell Williams.
Yes, commissioners, I included some information that the assessor's office got last week. It's on an open space application, and we set the hearing to have in July, but they hadn't returned this information. The recommendation from the assessor and from Community Services Administrator is still a denial, but I wanted to make sure the board knew that information was submitted and that'll be available when we have the hearing in July. And then my next item is the assessor's office did point out that recording fees are going up in July by $100. So right now, when you apply for the current use program, farm and ag, and the designated forest land, the fee per parcel is $500. So we're asking the board if you'd like to consider increasing it to $600 to cover this increase in the recording fees we know are going to come in July.
Commissioners, who would like to speak first? Are you in? Go ahead.
I was just looking at it, but it sounds like we need to do that. So
Yeah, I don't have any issues either.
Okay, let's go ahead and put it on.
Okay, I'll put it on June 22. Thank you.
thank you.
Then
Before you go forward, Mackenzie, are you out there? Can you hear us?
I think she's in the chambers. I'll go make sure Jen gets on.
Thank
She's
you.
on. Jennifer's on.
Okay.
Yep, there she is. Okay. Go ahead, Frank. Sorry.
no, that's okay. I was going to ask Jennifer then to bring forward her May financials.
Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you, Frank. So yes, we have the May financials, and I'm happy to report good news to you once again. Starting on page 2, we have so far for current expense, $18,993,895 compared to last year at this time, $16,044,574. Overall in current expense, we have 48% of our total budget is received through May, compared to last year at 42%. So any questions or comments on that before we move on?
Nope.
So let's see where our biggest uptick was. that we didn't see coming?
Yeah, I think it's in the treasurer's office.
And community development?
Yes.
Okay. So as we're looking to move forward with community development, do you think these numbers are going to hold for the rest of the year, the percentages? Or do you think this is just because we can't go back and look at everything where it came from? Or do you think this is just a blip?
I really don't know. I mean, the sales tax, I think that a lot of that has to do with online sales. And I think that a lot of people have gotten used to purchasing online. So, I mean, as long as the economy stays good, I think that our sales tax is going to continue to be fairly high compared to past years.
I think the thing I'm looking for the most is in community development, if this is because of this large difference because of a huge increase in applications for permits and et cetera, or is this a blip from other monies that came in? Just to see as we look forward to expanding, things in that department so we can get our numbers down for the waiting times, if this is consistent revenue.
So I know that Dave Windom is briefing on the revenue for community development. So he should have more details on that. I saw it on his briefing list for today.
That'll work. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments before we move on?
No.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to page 3 and 4, we have the treasurer's detailed revenue. In property tax, we have received $6,465,000 compared to last year about $5,559,000. That's about a $900,000 increase, and a lot of that's due to the levy shift. We did have, the open space. I think applications were part of that as well that I had emailed to you commissioners a few weeks back. The sales tax is up $722,000 over last year, which is just amazing. This year we're at $3,133,000. Last year we were at $2,410,000. So that's great.
Jennifer, on the treasurer's department receipts, although it looks like a huge split or benefit on that, wasn't last year's negative by a couple of percent over historic at this time?
I was going to speak to that because we did postpone, we did allow for a June for a May 28th delay in property tax payments due to COVID.
Yeah.
So you are seeing probably what's more accurate this year than you would have seen a decrease last year.
That's what I thought. It was a couple of points, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
We do have on page 4, the interest and other earnings is down about $243,000 compared to last year, which was expected since the interest rates are so low right now. The timber is up about $210,000. The rents and leases DNR Timber Trust 1 on page 4. So our overall revenue in the treasurer's office is $13,297,530 compared to last year at $11,711,065. So we're at 51% of our budgeted revenue compared to last year, 44%. So any other questions or comments on this?
No, not for me.
Thank you. Moving on to page 5, we have the current expense expenditures for all departments. We are at $15,338,777, which is 38% of the total expenditure budget, compared to last year, $14,415,866, which was also 38% of the total budget. So overall, things are looking consistent compared to last year as far as our budget goes. We do have a couple of departments that are over their benchmark, and I haven't done a lot of research into why that is. So I'll do that and let you know if there's anything alarming that we need to be aware of.
Other than traffic police and courthouse security, which we should understand why both of those are traffic police, it doesn't matter. It comes out to a set number at the end. The courthouse security, I think we can understand maybe that one. Superior Court, I'd be curious about. Other than that, I don't know which ones.
The treasurer's office is up a little bit, 43%.
Yeah, a little bit, but okay.
And then the clerk's office as well. So
Yeah, the clerk's office was a 41% at this time last time. So there normally looks like a little high in the beginning of the year anyway.
yeah, I'll just take a look and see if there's anything, if it's anything that looks like we're going to, go over at this point in time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on to page 6, we have the 6-year specific revenue streams comparison. And community development revenue is up to $1,337,882 as of the end of May. At this point last year, we were at $877,150. So that's an increase of about 461,000. So yeah, that's a lot of increased revenue there.
Can you look and see, not for today, but to provide us at another time, what we've done for increases in personnel FTEs and what a bow wave looks like for this year, so we can extrapolate it out over a couple of years and see about utilizing some of that money specifically for that department?
Yeah, so you want to see the FTEs this year compared
what
to
they'll be next year with the new FTEs that we've done, to see if we're utilizing some of that money. And I expect if we do look to do some more improvements, we would probably try to spread it out over a couple of years for how much more money it's bringing in. Because if we're looking at it historically, it's a jump of a little bit, but this one is incredibly high. So it may be a blip that we can't take a chance on utilizing all of it right away, because it may be the only year that we get it, not in the future.
Okay. Yes, I'll try to have something to you at our next briefing on that.
Thank you.
The rest of our revenues are looking really healthy, really good. Everything is up, besides, of course, the odd-looking property tax because of the shift and the shift that we did there.
Yeah.
But our REIT is up 270,000 over last year, which is just amazing. And that may have a lot to do with the sales, but also the change in the REIT, which I haven't done a lot of research in that, but the REIT structure, the rate that we received changed. So I'll look at that a little more closely.
The other commissioners, now the REIT, where it used to be a standard 1.78, now it goes according to how much you sell the house for. You sell it at this rate, there's a taxation rate from here and below, and then you're taxed a different rate for this and above, and there's different steps on that. So, you sell $1 million home, there's many steps that hits where it brings that revenue stream to us in a greater number.
Yeah.
So moving on to page 7, we have the sales tax. And the sales tax for May was $740,000, which is a record amount of sales tax received in any one month for Mason County. So that's really amazing. Last year at this time, it was $488,000. So that's an increase of about $252,000 in 1 month. Overall, again, we've received $723,000 more in sales tax than at this point in time last year. And so if we continue on as we have since January in our sales tax, will be projected to receive about 7.166 million in sales tax.
I often wonder if we're getting that because everybody received a lot of stimulus money. And so it may go down once we get back to normal, but.
I would agree with you, Commissioner. I think that has a lot to do with it. You know, of course, online sales and stuff, but I think that's a lot more than we're giving it credit for.
Mhm.
On page 8, we have the 6-year financial recap. And in our cash, we have $19,942,030, and that's in current expense as of the end of May. If you'll notice, I put in the allocations that are in our draft reserve policy that's set to be adopted next Tuesday. I put in the technology replacement reserves. I just used 264,295. That's the number that's in our 2021 budget under small tools and minor equipment. And then in the equipment and vehicle replacement reserves, the 932,475 is the amount that we're spending on the lease vehicles in our budget. And the accrued leave reserve is an average of the 3-year past actuals, the 347,742. And then the unreserved cash, 7,352,979 is what's left over.
In the future, the accrued leave would be another good one for us to look at to solidify that a little bit better, because we've seen that hurt us over the years, where although we run the average every once in a while, wham, we get hit. So maybe we can consider other options to make that a little bit larger.
Yeah, 2020's payouts were very low compared to other years, so that really brought down that average a lot.
Yeah. So maybe we increase the amount that we take of that average or something. And
okay, I'll take a look at that. As a recap, we have, again, 48% of our budgeted revenue received, and then 38% of our budgeted expenditures expended through May. So moving on to page 9, we have our cash balances for our special funds. And we have $35,269,254 as of the end of May, compared to last year, $32,537,27. So we're about 2.7 million over what we were last year. So questions on that or comments?
could you explain to me a little more the Community Support Services Fund?
So that is health.
Is there any specific reason why that has grown so much, or what it could be used for, or is that something you can bring back to us later?
Yeah, that's something I can bring back later. I don't have an answer on the top of my head.
Because I see a public health fund also, so I'm wondering how much of this maybe could be utilized within, I don't know, community development, or I look forward to it. Thank you.
That fund has your homeless money going into it from recording.
Oh, that's what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that all of it or just a part of that?
That it's probably just a part of it, but there's other probably grant funds and stuff in there as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to, were there any other questions, commissioners on that? No. Okay, moving on to page 10, we have the motor pool budget to actual expenditures. And at the end of May, we're at 38.65% of our budget at $513,992. And down below, by object code, we have all of the expenditures by type. Again, the lease and the motor pool capital lease added together are 32.3% of the total budgeted amounts, not 172,964%. So just want to clarify that. And at some point, I'll fix that in our budget so that it's not looking so odd. Any questions on the motor pool?
Again, are you keeping a running track of where we would have been for expenditures year over year to see if this is working for us?
Compared to ER&R?
Yeah. Our costs between the departments and ER&R.
So I had the analysis that we did, or that we brought to the commission, was it last month or in March? So 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And I have not taken a look and compared what we're currently expending to ER&R since then. Maybe I'll do a mid-year look.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a running thing for the year so we can at least know as we go into budget what we're looking at and how it worked out.
Okay. So moving on to page 11, we have the revenue for the special funds, and we are at overall $23,772,566 compared to last year's $16,881,191. Overall, we're at 55% of our total revenue so far in 2021, as compared to last year, 43%. So quite a big jump over last year. And I have not done any analysis on why there's a jump at all. So if there's anything that you want me to research, just let me know.
Again, the biggest one's looking like the roads because of what although the amount is so much greater than what we changed, there might be more to that we're seeing. And
yeah, I'm not sure
services.
Oh, sorry.
And community services again.
Yeah, I'll take a closer look at both of those. Roads might be the gas tax possibly coming in higher. I'm not sure, but I'll take a look. Yeah, the community support services and then community services health are both up quite a bit.
Yeah.
The landfill as well. And then the Belfair probably is the highest change, or it is the highest change due to their grant funding that they have right now for that expansion.
Please find out what monies, and we'll ask them what monies they've taken out of that for the expansion. I don't know that we've actually taken money from that yet.
Okay.
I'm wondering if a lot of this could be the monies that came in from the new construction, though. Go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say the other, I don't know that it wouldn't be in this amount, but did we not get another $500,000 from the capital budget as well that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah.
I don't think that's come in yet.
No. It wouldn't until after July.
Yeah.
Okay.
When the new budget takes effect. I was just putting that out there as something to keep an eye on because that'll inflate that number as well.
Even more. Okay.
Yeah, I'd be curious whether the new developments have already kicked in for their connections or some of them.
Yeah, that would be a lot of connections.
Well, there are.
Okay. I'll take a look and see if I can get more info on that. And any other things on there that you want me to research, commissioners?
No.
Okay, so moving on to page 12, the last page, we have the expenditures for the special funds. And so far, we're at $20,605,969 compared to last year, $13,628,732. We're at 40% of our total expenditure budget compared to last year at 28%. So again, I have not done any research on why we're higher than last year, but a lot of it, I'm sure, corresponds to the higher revenue. So I'll research the higher amounts and make sure that the corresponding revenue is why that's higher on the expenditure side.
It's probably because of the REIT improvements, building 10 and the such.
Yeah, that would, that makes sense on the REIT for sure.
And yeah, the historical preservation, that one's pretty high.
Historical preservation actually has moved to the current expense. So that 48,000 is actually a transfer from historical preservation and into current expense to zero out that fund. So it's actually not a true expenditure.
Gotcha.
The 60,000 was budgeted as a high number in case it was up to that amount. And then the actual cash for historical preservation at the end of December 2020 was 48,147. So any other questions or comments on this?
Community support services also is pretty high. Wondering if that's because of some of the, well, the special circumstances we've been in this year.
I would assume. Also, just for the commission, before we leave this part, we might want to pay attention for future discussions on Russellwood and the cash balances that we have left in there. In comparison, right now we're down to like 85,000 for our cash balance in Russellwood. Just to keep that in mind for future discussions.
Commissioners, I'd also like to ask, and this could take a little bit of time to develop, and so just if you're supportive of it, maybe Jen can work on it. But I think it would also be helpful to add a component to the financials, maybe even just quarterly, about where we are debt wise, what's outstanding, and just kind of getting a snapshot of our debt picture. I know we probably, the closest we come to that is when the finance committee meets, but it might be helpful to have a more regular check-in on that and just having some additional information about when we pay, when we make our payments, like for Belfair or the other utilities and that kind of thing. Just I think would be a helpful snapshot, just not just for me, but I think the public would also benefit from that.
With the addition also of the amount of interest we're paying on those debts. And Commissioner, the timing couldn't be better considering the conversation we just had about taking some of the unexpended monies that we have in consideration of paying off some of that debt. Looking at today's, it looks like we have 7 million, unencumbered. And maybe the discussion about a small portion of that or a larger portion could be had after she presents this debt breakdown for us. Sooner rather than later, if we do it earlier, we save more money.
Agreed.
Okay, so thank you, Jennifer. Frank?
Well, we still have Jennifer going. This would be the final review of the 2022 budget guidelines.
Like she might have
I was going to say, are you sure you still have Jennifer?
Oh, she disappeared again.
Yeah.
Was it something we said?
Might have been. Let me see if we can get her back on in the meantime. Ross, why don't we do parks and trails?
All righty. Good morning, everybody. How is everybody doing this morning?
Good.
Right.
Fantastic. Fantastic. What I wanted to give you guys is a little bit of a heads up. I have been signed by Frank to work on the Parks and Trails comp plan, to do an update on the comp plan, which is something that we definitely need if we're going to be applying for any kind of RCO grants, to make sure that we do have a current plan that's in place and a plan that is actually usable, doable, and does show what we would like to accomplish using either REIT dollars or county dollars for our parks and trails system. I did make contact with Bob Droll. Bob Droll assisted us on the previous one with putting together some dollars and cents, which goes along with the different projects that were on there. I've talked to him about this and stated that we would like his assistance again if possible. And he is going to be sending me an outline of what he believes he can do, and also the cost factor that goes along with that. I did send him the 2018 Parks and Trails comp plan, highlighting those different things that have already been done that are in that comp plan, and also informed him that we're looking at doing at least a couple of outreaches to community, as well as outreaches to you on the Board of County Commissioners to do projects in your areas of direct projects for each one of your areas there. Calling those district projects, I think that would be the easiest way to call those. And also to start looking at some more funding coming out of RCO and also out of YAC, especially for the shooting range is one of them we were looking at. And we are looking at quite a few other things that were brought up by the advisory board, that we're going to look at those also and put them all into kind of one giant plan and see how that works. So I'm hoping that it'll stay under $50,000 for doing this, but I will not know until I get a contract or get a outline from Bob Droll and an invoice on how much it'll cost. But I just wanted to give you the heads up that I'm going to be starting to work on that.
Ross, with that being said, I'd sure like to make sure that you include in those discussions the idea of equity and fairness between the districts. The reason why I say that each one is separated by population. So, without a doubt, it should be looked at in some manner that way. I can assure you, as somebody that's been around for a long time, looking at Commissioner Schuette's district alone, I know that district has not gotten their fair share of those monies. Even if we were to give greater percentages to greater areas, I understand that. But some of those dollars definitely need to go to those outlying rural areas as they're paying.
Definitely, I do agree with that. Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Russ, are you working with Trevor Severance too regarding the shooting?
Oh yeah. He's in my office probably every other week about it. Yes. Yes.
Oh, good.
I agree with him too. It's just, and actually there is a grant going on right now for that. There is an open grant. So I wanted to work with him. I believe he's going to be bringing something also to the commissioners.
Great. Thank you.
One other item, Ross, as you're having those conversations with Bob, is figuring out what kind of a public outreach component of developing the plan would look like. It's ultimately it's the people's money and their parks, and so we want to make sure that we're giving them an opportunity to weigh in on opportunities of things, development that we could do or projects that we could do in the parks to improve access and usability for the public. So I'm definitely interested in having Bob incorporate those elements into the information that he's going to give you.
Right. Okay. And that's one of the things we did discuss. I was asking that we could probably do at least 3 meetings, because one for each one of the districts that way. And then I don't believe we're going to be doing another survey, basically because we're looking at trying to get this done by December 31st of this year. doing a survey would probably take quite a bit of time. So
Well, I would love for us as a commission to get together and get a few of these projects going right away so we can go after those grants. We decide on something in December.
well, we have to have a comp plan that is
Up to date.
up to date, right? So that's our first thing we're going to do is get that rolling. But I can still apply for the grant even if we don't have an updated comp plan, as long as we give them a date of when it's going to be. They're pretty good about that.
All right, what else you got there?
That's it for me right now. That's it.
Hi, this is Kel.
Hi, Kel.
Hello. Hey, I just wanted to reach out to Ross. I missed the very beginning of that, but on the comp plan update, and of course I've got Marissa Watson as our long-range planner, who's going to transition to capital facilities plan update in our comp plan. And I just want to let Ross know, he knows this from before, but we're here to assist and let us know how we can help and get that incorporated so that you're well positioned for grant monies in the future.
Thank you. Cool. I definitely will. I'll be getting a hold of you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
You can run, but you can't hide. Okay.
Commissioners, this is Jennifer Byerly, and sorry about that. I had trouble connecting to the internet. It kicked me off.
That's okay. Welcome back.
Thank you. So if you're ready, or whenever you're ready, I have the 3 items that you're waiting on.
Yeah.
So we have the 2022, the budget guidelines, final review of the draft. And there were no other changes than the ones that we made last Monday to this draft. So if you're okay with this, commissioners, I want to ask permission to place on the June 22nd agenda.
Any commissioners have any issue?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Sounds like we're ready to go, Jennifer.
Great, thank you. And then the next thing that I have is review of the rates for the 2022 budget. And the rates are for the internal cost allocations, the information technology rates, the state auditor's office charges, unemployment, and motor pool. And the rates, we've gotten them pretty well down over the last couple of years to have a consistent method of doing the rates. We base most of the rates, like the internal cost allocations, information technology. We base those on what actually happened in 2020. And then the state auditor's office charges, those are based on the budgeted FTE amounts, or I'm sorry, not the budget, the total budgeted amounts, dollar amounts to each fund. And then unemployment is based on the budgeted FTE amounts, budgeted FTE numbers. And the motor pool rates are based on our estimated cost of leasing. So whatever we order, and then the leases that we already have in progress, and the cost to upfit those leases, and any other cost to maintain, like insurance, fuel, things like that. So I just wanted you to have a chance to review the rates before they went out with the budget instructions.
Jennifer, is there any department or elected that is calling into question or have dispute with any of these rates or allocations?
No, not that I've heard so far.
Thank you.
So if you're okay with that, I don't want to put them on the action agenda. I just wanted you to review them. I mean, really, they'll be adopted with the budget. So,
just make sure it goes out to everybody. I'm sure you already have, but just in case, so anybody can have input. I don't have any issues with any of it. Commissioners, do you have any issues?
No issues with me.
Oh, none from me.
great, thank you. So yeah, I'll send these out with the budget instructions on June 22nd, once the budget instructions are signed and adopted. And I'll also send out the Excel versions to everyone and to you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then the last thing that I have is the take-home vehicle assignment for Jeremy Seymour. And this is pretty routine and standard. It's just, anybody that takes a vehicle home has to have it run through the board for our vehicle take-home policy. So I'm just requesting that we place this on the June 22nd consent agenda.
And this is a replacement of another person, position that had the vehicle, and
Yes.
we're just moving this person into there. I'm supportive, commissioners. Any issue?
No issue, supportive.
Thank you.
Everybody's good to go on that, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners. Next item we have is the next component of the Building 10 construction project. We have the site work construction cost for the permanent certificate of occupancy. This would include the cost for the engineering, for civil engineering, landscape design, architectural drawings, and construction management of $44,000, and the total construction cost as well, to include stormwater, curbs, pavement, and parking modifications, as well as landscaping and lighting improvements to the facility of $660,000. This is a change order to the contract that we had originally with Provost Construction. So there's no additional contractor or new contractor coming on site.
Frank, what kind of a disruption do you anticipate this work having to the use of Building 10? I'm sure the mobilization will impact parking and that kind of thing. Have you been in touch with the courts? And
I have, and the disruption will be minimal. There's not going to be a mobile construction office that's going to be put on the site. So what disruptions there will be limited as it relates to the parking. Stormwater might be an issue, but it's going to occur back where the Sally Port is, where there is no parking anyway. So it will be limited, but as we move along and we get details of what disruptions there may be, obviously we'll have conversation with the courts to let them know.
And then how much, I'm looking through here, how much of a contingency is built into this?
10%.
Okay.
Hope it's pretty.
Well, it's just going to be curbs and sidewalks and parking. Landscaping will be somewhat extensive. The city wants the Sally Port fencing kind of covered or made less visible, similar to what's going on at the facility on Coda.
Oh, less visible.
Yep.
That's just kind of funny.
So I'm looking for approval to put this on the June 22nd action agenda for the Support Services Director to sign, authorized to pay for these.
Anybody have any issue with that?
No, for me.
Looks like you're good to go, Frank.
Thank you. The next item we have are two reclassifications that have been pending. One for the assessor's office to reclassify the levy personal property technician into an administrative data technician. This is taking responsibilities of a levy personal property tech and adding to it a data technician's responsibilities. A data technician was the highest level position that the assessor's office had, and now that's going to be added on to the responsibilities of the levy personal property technician's position.
Will that be also the inclusion of the requirement of being able to read the property descriptions?
Vicky, do you want to speak to that for a moment?
No, that's the 14th position, reading legal descriptions. This is levy personal property. I think Patty's on too.
I see her name.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can now.
Sorry, I don't have my camera hooked up. So it is all the job, we're gonna do all the cross training, all our job descriptions kind of back up each other. So we are gonna start, everybody's gonna start cross training with the SEG clerk or the real property technician. But the 14th position was kind of the primary to train before the other one retired. But yes, everybody's gonna be reading legal descriptions. Including that new position or the reclass.
It's imperative to me personally, and that's one of the reasons why I was bringing this forward originally, was to make sure that it is written in stone, that we have that along with a backup, to make sure that we have two that can do all the things that are necessary for the future for Mason County.
Right.
Your folks have been doing an incredible job, especially with the fact they only have one. We should never have allowed ourselves to get in that position.
Well, when the
We
prior
agree.
administration reorganized the
Thank you.
office, sorry about that. Everybody was kind of everybody's backup. So they had kind of started off and on, retraining or cross training that position, let alone all the positions. So we should all, if somebody's gone, somebody should be able to step in and assist. So, there's been other assistants in there, but yeah, it has been just one person since 2008, and we do need two.
Commissioner Netherland, are you comfortable with those assurances that you'll get what you need out of this?
Well, we have to move forward. So I guess I'm going to be comfortable moving forward with the caveat that you know how important this is. Please make sure that that's actually in the breakdown on how this is done.
It will be.
Because so you asked me to go forward and push this, and I want to make sure that we are completely protected by doing this. It's not just an investment into the organization, which I want to do. It is also an investment into the safety and the precaution that will be okay in the future for Mason County. So
Yep, we will make it happen.
then yes, I will, Commissioner Schutte.
Then I'm going to go ahead and put my trust in you, Commissioner, and the assessor to make that happen.
July.
Thanks, guys. Scare me. No, just kidding. And so will I. What do you have next, Frank?
The next is another reclass. This is for the auditor's office. This is to reclassify a financial analyst into a senior financial analyst position. And it's with the AFSCME union contract.
And Mr. Auditor, just wanted to make sure this position also will give us a little bit of redundancy and a succession plan to make sure that what happened 5 years ago won't happen again, right? That's one of the reasons why we're moving forward with this.
Correct. We have also hired a new financial analyst who will begin July 16th. That position that you authorized to get trained up on all the processes. So we'll have 10 months or so of overlap, 9 months or so of overlap with our staff member who's retiring. To learn the ropes and be prepared. And we got just an absolutely fabulous candidate, and we're very, very pleased. We were able to hire such a terrific person from the state auditor's office.
Mr. Auditor, do you mind if I address your staff for a minute? I see Leo on here. Leo, so are you prepared to help make sure this position gives us that succession plan and that redundancies so that you have backup if you were to fall over tomorrow?
Yes, I am, for sure.
But you won't fall over. We need you way too much.
Yep.
We're telling Leo to stay away from fast-moving buses.
Yeah, then I'm supportive, commissioners.
So, just real quick, so this is absolutely what you see is best for your office.
Yes.
Seeing both of you nod and agree makes me more comfortable moving ahead.
Yeah, ultimately, I'll be supportive of this as well. I had some heartburn with this in the past, and I know it's not without, it's not a perfect proposal, but I'll be supportive as well, given some of the other changes that we also have to make. So, and then we'll make sure we send a bubble for Leo.
No more chocolate donuts for you, buddy. We got to keep you safe.
Oh darn.
Okay, then with that, I think we all agree to move forward. Is that correct? That's what I heard. Okay.
Yep.
And it's been a long process. Mr. Auditor, I appreciate the patience on helping us find a way to get there when it was all over.
And thank you to you commissioners on this. It has been a long process, but I think we got a great result that's going to serve the county well.
I agree. All right, Frank, what do you got next?
Last item is the proposed reorganization of support services. Last week we had a conversation or a briefing with Rothman in regards to moving forward with the county administrator, and with that, an opportunity to reorganize support services. So I'm asking for approval to create, post, and fill for a new position of county administrator. Salary range to be determined in the future and in consultation with Rothman, as well as to approve to create, post, and fill for a new position of human resources administrator at a non-represented salary scale range of 38. And we have a proposal for a reclassification of the budget manager to a budget and finance manager at a salary range 39, and a request for approval to reclassify the administrative manager from a range 39 to central services manager at a salary scale of 40. So those are the four positions. There's also a document that shows the reorganization for the county, which is to put the county administrator directly under the Board of County Commissioners, and then have central services manager, human resources administrator, budget and finance manager report directly to the county administrator, as well as the public works director and community services director, and have WSU Extension and the Office of Public Defense also report directly to the county administrator.
Okay, who would like to go first? Commissioner Schutte?
Sure. Thanks, Commissioner Nolan. Frank, I appreciate the work you put into this. I think this is a thoughtful approach, if not one that is a bit disruptive to the current organization. I understand that, but I think ultimately this helps move us in a direction that will continue to help us modernize and professionalize our operations. Really appreciated the dialogue last week on some of these changes with Commissioners Nolan and Trask. And look forward to supporting these and hiring appropriately.
Commissioner Trask?
Well, I'm definitely happy that we're using Rothman because they did well for other counties, and they're also doing well for Mason Transit. And honestly, I haven't had the opportunity to take a real deep look at the job descriptions for the central services manager. And has HR changed a bit, or from the last version?
Very minor.
Very minor. Okay. I wouldn't mind taking a deeper dive into the central services just to do a quick read through it, if you don't mind.
Of course, we can bring this back for briefing on next Monday. We don't have a commission meeting until next Tuesday, the following Tuesday.
Right.
So we can revisit this Monday.
Yeah, overall, I feel very good about it. I think it's the right approach to take. Mason County is going to grow quickly, I think. and we need to be prepared for that. Sometimes change is hard. And so I see that Lisa is unmuted. I'd really like to maybe.
Just have a comment when it's appropriate for the budget and finance manager job description. As I was reading through that, it accepts the staff in the auditor's office, and I would like to see it also accept the staff in the treasurer's office. We look forward to cooperatively working with this budget and finance manager. I am an elected official, and I don't see that they would have the staff in my office that handles financial matters. So I was concerned that the treasurer's office was not accepted.
I don't know.
I think, if I may
Please.
respond to that, actually, why don't you and I have a conversation in the next day to discuss that? I don't see a particular reason why not. The purpose here is to define accounting systems and processes that are managed through the utilization of Munis and somewhat centralized from a processing standpoint. But I don't see that that could not be accomplished by collaboratively working with the budget and finance manager. So to that regard, I don't see a reason why there shouldn't be an exclusion for that as well.
I didn't like seeing an exclusion for anybody personally, but the way it's written, it's a little confusing. And so I want to make sure that, you know, those concerns are discussed and met before this goes forward.
That would be okay. I definitely appreciate where you're coming from on that. And I think that's a worthwhile thing to look at. I don't think the intent here is to preempt any other elected officials.
I agree with that, but
So I think it's just, we can find language that, you know, is satisfactory. But I totally appreciate where you're coming from and appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
thanks.
Leo, I saw that you brought your face on here and unmuted. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I was just paying attention.
Okay. So Commissioner Trask, just to re-verify, it sounds like you are supportive of moving forward and having it put on the agenda, but would like to rebrief on Monday before any votes happen. Is that what I understood?
Yeah, I think what I'd really like is to let the public have a chance, an opportunity to take a look at this as well. It was presented kind of quickly, and so I just want to make sure that the public is aware of what's going on, and if they have any input, they could have some input as well.
And that's why I was asking the question, to make sure that you get what you want on this. Is just this, because it's not going to get voted on until Tuesday anyway, is just this week enough time notice to the public for you? Or would you like to wait on having it put on the agenda for a vote on Tuesday until the next meeting?
Oh, no, I think.
I just wanted to double check that to make sure that
I like to give them at least 24 hours to take a look.
Okay, so at this point, I have the two commissioners that are supportive with allowing it to go on the agenda for a vote on our next meeting, with the proviso that it's also brought back on Monday for another briefing, and working with the elected officials to make sure the verbiage meets their requirements for where they're going to be exempted in certain manners as they see fit. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. And with myself, I'm going to just put my thoughts on it. Everybody knows that I am vehemently opposed to an administrator. I do believe that it is puts a division, more of a division between us and the public, and it could end up being a fourth commissioner unintentionally. But at the same time, I can tell you the rest of the reorganization is too important for me to stand in the way because of that. So with that, I also am supportive with putting it on the agenda and rebriefing on Monday. So with that, I think we have three, and that's what we're going to do. Any other comments on that, commissioners, that you're comfortable with? Okay, and what else you got, Frank?
That's it. Thank you very much, commissioners, except for commission discussion.
Okay, Commissioner Trask.
In your packet is a copy of the calendar for the, let me get there real quick. For the Memorial Hall. So just wanted you to take a look at it and see how truly packed it is and how difficult it is to find room for weddings and things like that. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'll let Diane know or Jen, and we can probably answer.
Yeah, just a question, Commissioner or staff. How many requests are they receiving at Memorial Hall that they have to turn away?
I don't know the number of requests because it's been so limited for so long, especially on the weekend. And with COVID, you know, there was a time when we couldn't let groups use it, but I can certainly check with staff. I don't think there have been a lot of requests just because we've gone through this COVID thing.
Right. I don't think that there have been either. I've, you know, Jen sits right outside my door and I don't hear a whole lot of requests coming in. And I do think, like Diane said, it's because of COVID, the restrictions for quite a while. The hall was closed until we were able to open back up.
So I guess kind of like where I'm at on this is I'm not sure what problem we're trying to solve for with a change at this point. Is it a matter of staffing issues, or they don't have people that can open and close, or that there's an issue with keeping the facility clean before and after events? Or I'm just kind of curious as to what's triggering this, because it certainly looks like the calendars are full, but I don't know what the gap between what's on the calendar and the requests are, so it's hard to tell.
Right. I think that there was a question that was brought up earlier regarding issues going on at the hall and how hard it was to get in there. And so this was to address that concern.
And I asked that question, and that some were turned away without reason when it was available and stuff. And also, though, I'm looking at this calendar, and I know you're saying that it's full, but I'm not seeing full. I'm seeing 9 o'clock in the morning, except for on Tuesdays, except for one committee that meets at 6 o'clock in the evening on one Tuesday of the month. Most of them are 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and they're over after that. So that leaves quite a bit open. My bigger question, though, was not just that and whether there's availability, because I know there's availability, and I'm looking at the calendar, and every time somebody wants to use something, they have to work it in between what other people have. My question was more along the lines of, we were talking about making it so it's not available to the public. And my question was, are we saying not available to the public at all, or not available to the public except for organizations that are currently not using it? For example, are we going to kick out NA, Narcotics Anonymous? Are we going to kick out Shelton Farms Market Executive Meeting? Are we going to kick out the Republican Women? Are we going to kick out 4-H? And if we're not going to kick them out, then are we just picking and choosing which ones that we're deciding to use the facility? Because if we allow them to use it and not the rest of the public, then we're picking and choosing.
Well, I didn't know that was what you were meaning. No, we're not going to kick anyone out of the hall that's using it already. I mean, it's available to nonprofits for sure. And
also, Commissioner, when it says 9 o'clock, like for the VSO, it's really 9 to 4. We just didn't put the end time, but they're in there all day long because that's when they process their indigent veteran applications. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Basically, the full day is taken by the VSOs.
Okay.
Many of the requests come in for the weekends too. And as you can see, most of the weekends are very full.
Okay, so again, though, that brings us back to my other question. If we're going to allow these other ones to stay in, then we are starting to pick and choose. That was my worry or my contention. If we're going to kick everybody out, then it has to be across the board. I don't support that, but we can't select that these ones are allowed in and the other ones are not. Now, if we were to change it to where only nonprofits can use it, I can probably support that to, to keep that simple. But, cutting off anybody except for these groups when other ones in the community may need it and it's a community hall doesn't make much sense to me.
So I think, I'm gonna, the risk of dragging this out a little longer. I'm gonna want to, I think, chat with Diane a little bit. If Diane, if you're open to that,
Sure.
to try and understand this a little bit better. Commissioners, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay. We'll bring Commissioner Trask. Are you comfortable with revisiting this on the next briefing?
I'm fine.
Me as well.
I just have one comment on it, that I did just get a request from Randy Newell at the jail that he will be needing a place to have his UI class one Friday a month. As I look at Memorial Hall, I do see that there potentially is one Friday a month on that calendar. So that would just be another date that was taken.
Well, I would hope, since we haven't changed any policy yet, that they would be expected and allowed to continue without change something.
Absolutely.
That's my personal, but I don't know. I have two other commissioners. Your opinions, please.
I would just say follow the current policy and until it's changed.
Yeah, that saves the county money by us doing that for the county. So, yeah.
Commissioner Trash, do you have any issue with that?
No.
Okay. Then that's what we'll do. We'll revisit this on Monday, next Monday. Any further commissioner discussion?
Yeah, commissioners, just one item, and this is maybe for both of you and Frank as well. We've had the Treasury guidance for the American Rescue Plan for about a month now, maybe a little bit less. I know there's a lot of gobbledygook to go through there with that, and it's a lot to read and a lot to digest and everything. But I wanted to talk about, see when we were going to revisit that. I'm particularly concerned about our utility partners who requested assistance for their customers who are in arrears, as the moratoriums are set to expire here in the next few weeks, and just wanting to be able to dive into that so that we can give them some assurances, give their customers some assurances, and evaluate those requests so that people don't needlessly get shut off that have legitimate COVID related needs. So I just wanted to put that back out there. Time's ticking, and just kind of wanted to get a sense of where we were.
Again, my concern there is COVID related needs. I just would like to see us tighten that up more, but Commissioner Trask, go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. I don't believe that we've received the money yet from the Treasury. So we're still waiting on that. But there's no reason we can't start progressing or going forward and deciding where the greatest needs are and start working on maybe the contracts that we need there.
And I was proposing to bring that forward next Monday as part of our briefing again, to revisit what we currently have as outstanding requests and then update the guidances that the Treasury has put forward as to what opportunities the county has for additional funding.
Are you comfortable with that, Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, no, I think bringing it back on Monday is good. The moratoriums expire in July, and even though we haven't received any of the money now, I think we've obviously addressed the body camera issue and hadn't received the money yet for that, and so I think we certainly have the flexibility to start making commitments, and starting to plan ahead.
I personally don't disagree with that statement at all. Commissioner Trask?
No, I agree. I know there's frustrations across the nation because of the slowness of the Treasury and the lack of guidance that we're getting from them.
If history is any example, it'll get worse before it gets better. Is there any other commissioner discussion? Hearing none, we will take a break until 10:45, at which time we'll come back with community services.
Commissioners,
Yes.
I had one last add-on to request to add on to the June 22nd commission meeting separation, release, and hold harmless agreement.
Oh, that's right. I'm supportive. Commissioners?
Same.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you, Don. Okay, anything further? We are adjourned until 10:45. Okay, my apologies, everybody. We are coming back into session for our Monday, June 14th meeting of briefing of the Mason County Commission. Next up is Community Services and Dave Windom.
Good morning, Commissioners, and happy Flag Day.
Good morning, Dave.
Hey, so we'll start off with Kel and Alan. Actually, Kel and Alex. Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We kind of have a joint briefing here. I'm not sure where this was prompted or where it came out of, but we were tasked with providing you guys kind of a monthly update, and Kel and I worked together on kind of putting together some, quick stats out of our permitting system. Something that we can kind of quickly grab that doesn't take too much of our time, but still kind of give you guys a snapshot of how we're doing with our permit review times. This is what we had come up with as just kind of a starting point. But if you guys have suggestions or, comments, do let us know.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding what you have in front of you here?
I like that it gives us a quick snapshot of what and how.
Are these work days or these days? Calendar days?
That's a good question. I'd have to see how, because SmartGov provides these review times. I would think it's calendar days.
Calendar days too.
Okay. And just a piece of information to share with you. I met with I was trying to have dinner and I ended up meeting with a developer that had some things he wanted to share with me. One of the issues that he wanted me to know and understand was that he's saddened by how there's been a change. There used to be a concurrence of permitting between health and community development, and he says that's kind of gone away this last year. I don't know if that was COVID issue or what, but he said that even when he's talked to staff, because I guess he does a lot of different pole buildings and manufactured homes and stuff, that staff is telling him at DCD upstairs that it's not happening and just going to have to deal with it. So if you guys wouldn't mind just looking into that, please, and seeing if there's any validity to that. Just because somebody says it does not mean, for the public, just because somebody says it does not mean that it's true. I find that out a lot, and I'm sure our other commissioners do, but a lot of times it is true. So we'll just take the moment to ask staff to please look into that and see where we're standing on that for the future.
Hey, Randy, this is Kel. Can I ask clarification on that? Do you think that they were expressing that the DCD staff was saying?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, it was upstairs that where historically it had gone concurrently, that no longer is that happening, and they're not going to try to make it happen or get anything issued, and they're just going to have to sit back and wait. That's what the person said over and over again, about 7-8 times.
Okay, but I guess
while I was trying to have dinner by myself.
Right. I just was curious if the what did we used to do and what are we not doing? Is it
according to him
that we're requiring septic designs to be approved before we take in building permits?
Yes,
or
that's exactly what he was saying, that before they would, you could put it all in at one time and they'd take it in at one time, and now they won't do it concurrently. That's what the person was saying.
Okay, and that is a change that we've made that we believe has allowed a smoother permitting process rather than the back and forth when in the past when we did that concurrently. And Alex, step in here, but I believe what used to happen is, septic design would be going through and a lot of changes would occur, and then people would have to resubmit a revised site plan or revised plan based on the final approval of a septic design. And so to avoid that, we're having the septic design approved first and then going forward with the building. But Alex and I should get together to see if there's some, if there's some ways to condense that.
Yes, please do for two different reasons. One, this person does a lot of the same things, so you could imagine that they're used to it all just going through pretty smoothly together, and they know how to do the work. But the other is, I want to remind everybody that the departments were put together years ago specifically for that not to happen. So if we're moving backwards in that other direction, we might be moving backwards accidentally into where we used to have issues, and it created silos where everybody was forced to come together. Dave, go ahead. I can see you.
Yeah. So one of the reasons we did this is, as Kel brought up, is to keep from having to have planned resubmissions. And we do this in other counties as well, where the water and septic are approved first before the building plan is submitted. Because if you don't want to have to move things around on the lot based on a change in the septic design.
And again, I understand that this person is a professional that's been doing this for many, 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 many years, and all of a sudden it's created quite a hiccup in what they do.
We'll look into it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just a question for just off the top of my head, how long does it, or how hard is it to approve like a pole barn or something like that? If it's just the barn and it has no electric or water to it?
Kelly, you can jump in, but I think if you look on this, I believe a pole barn would kind of fall under the garage or carport, permit type. So I guess you'd be looking at around 60 days about.
Now, before, when we had met and the commissioners asked me to go over there, now it's our own fault because we didn't push and demand anything that we saw from it, but it was concurrent from the commission that we wanted some of those things, that the easiest ones to perhaps be looked at the front desk. And I know we just had the lean program, and hopefully they're talking about separating out some of the easier ones to where we can get these things done. But the idea of something so simple and set taking 60 days doesn't make much sense.
You're correct, Commissioner Netherland, that that was one of the things that came out of lean is kind of looking at different tracks for different types of permits, so that the easier type things aren't waiting at length because of the more difficult review times. So that is a work in progress, and that may reduce some of that time for those garage type and pole barns. It still, for the most part, requires EH review to make sure that people aren't building things over the drain field and septic tank, etc.
Okay, what else you got?
Okay, so the next piece is kind of follows along with that. It's a DCD financial brief. We're going to be doing these regularly. You'll be seeing one from Public Health shortly. Looking at the page on the DCD revenue versus expense. Well, I had several years on there, and I cut out to just this year and then the last 2 years because it got to be pretty complex. So you see the blue there in 2020, we had a sharp dip in April, and we're exactly the opposite this year with DCD. We had a very sharp submission in April. Lots of permits came in. Moving down, the next chart is revenue and expense. The gray line is our budgeted expense. We're meeting those regularly. We're not popping above those, and our revenue has been looking pretty good this year. Dropping on down, we have the 2020 revenue, January to May versus 2021. You see we had a substantial increase there as well. And then on the final page is revenue by source. And that's just kind of just a snapshot. So the reason I put this together like this, I want to see if you wanted it in this format or if you wanted it in a an Excel spreadsheet type format. Which do you prefer?
I'm good with this. I don't have any issue with the presentation.
Yeah, I would agree. I see everything you're saying. So,
okay,
just a way of communication, right?
That's right. And it's easier for everyone, the public, anyone to understand this, to take a peek at this. So, I mean, one thing you can take away from that very first thing is you look at permits over time. They tend to peak in July, and then as we get to October, December timeframe, we tend to coast. So we're a little bit underwater in the end of the year. So it's just part of a regular budgeting process where we look at our high revenue times, low revenue times, and they do balance out.
When did we open up our office more? Did we open it up more in February, the end of February?
I believe that we became fully opened, I want to say it was in April.
So that would, but we started moving forward, it looks like in February, looking at the chart, and then gaining more in March. We were opening more and more, and then April became fully open, and that would be the peak.
Oh, yeah, we've been adding more submittal slots probably since January, and we'll have the most ever starting in July. So that may be what you're seeing, but we are now fully open to the public. I believe we started that in February.
Well,
in April.
As we move forward with being able to look at revenues and decide how or if anything should be done with them, it's important to know whether or not the revenue stream was because of pent up activities that were not allowed to go through earlier that became allowed to go through, and if that's a blip that's going to drop down. It's looking like it according to the revenue. I'll be curious to see what happens in June, but it also looks like historically it's happened. There's been a downturn starting in May going through June.
There was in March and April, we did have some large, so the North Mason Fire Station submitted a permit that was a very large fee. Also the apartment complex up in Belfair. So I think in March and April, you're seeing some large permit fees that we don't typically see. And then May is back on track for just our what we're expecting for revenues.
Okay, that would make sense. All right, what else you got? Commissioners, do you have any questions on the financial proposals?
No, who doesn't like a pie?
Yeah. In all these years, you thought I would have heard that one before, but I had not. That was a new one for me. And I would agree.
And the last thing that was up for discussion, and we brought this forward last week in briefing, and the governor late last week discussed opening the state fully. And one of the things he brought up was that the mask mandate is going to stay in place. Dr. Shaw's mandate is going to stay in place. So we really need to come back and revisit the opening our masking within county employees. And I'm looking for direction of how you want me to go forward with that. Do we want to bring that back to the commission next week, or how would you like to that addressed?
You know, me and Dave had a conversation about this, and I'd like to share it with you. You know, understanding that it doesn't look like there's going to be a change. There was some hope that the governor would change some of the restrictions and the requirements of us, and it looks like that's not going to happen. So I've been trying to find a way to where I can justify it and live with it personally as we move forward. I personally, after talking with Dave, am semi-comfortable with the idea of allowing staff members to unmask, but I would prefer that we do not have managers taking the information and asking questions. I believe that maybe it should land in the laps of directors and elected officials to keep that tally, allow them the ability to walk in and voluntarily, if they choose, give the information that would allow them to unmask. If they want to attest, to voluntarily allow them to attest. But that's not a question that we're asking and that our managers are not asking. It's just kept in and noted at the higher level. Now, a manager can come and ask the elected official if that's a case, but I still would like to keep it as thin as possible for the responsibilities of the county and not force it on people, with the caveat also that whether you are vaccinated or not vaccinated, you are still allowed and asked to continue to wear your mask if you choose. That will help to separate people from saying they're not vaccinated, they are vaccinated. I just want to keep that out of our county administrative footprint if we can. What do you guys think of that concept? I know I didn't communicate it very well because I'm so uncomfortable with it, as you know, from our past discussions. But again, keeping it only to the top of the top. We don't have managers and other people trying to judge each other and make the determinations up the ladder, because everybody has a boss. That shouldn't be like that. It should be a determination from the very top on what's happened there, in my opinion.
So let me try and see if I'm tracking here.
Please do.
So voluntary attestation of vaccination status, no record, no record of producing a vaccine card will be kept, correct?
We already don't keep a record of that. If I'm not understanding it correct, it's the attestation we have to keep the record of.
Right.
Is that correct?
So basically a form saying, I'm fully vaccinated. I've received either the Johnson & Johnson or 2 doses of Moderna and Pfizer, and I'm more than 2 weeks out from having received the second dose. Sign it, turn it into your elected or director, who then would house that in HR, or where would that log of those attestations be housed?
I would think HR, but Dave, what were you thinking when we were talking? Or it just stays with the director, maybe.
The L&I guidance isn't clear. We can kind of do it however we choose. If we leave it with the directors, that would be fine. We can just do paper copy, leave it with the directors. The only things, like you said, they have to keep is the attestation, and we don't have to keep copies of the cards themselves. So it really would just be a log of who has shown their card or their attestation.
If I may add to the conversation, we purchased the software, the KnowBe4 software, just recently. That has a feature that will allow us to collect attestations electronically so that we don't have to keep paper documents. And those can be kept online for L&I anytime they come. And rather than keep pushing paper around, there's an electronic attestation. If Dave wants to set that system up, then we don't have to keep paperwork.
Will that be subject to public records or anything else?
Absolutely.
I don't know that I want to be put in that position, guys.
Either way, it would be correct.
Yes.
Right.
So what would be disclosable there?
Just the attestation and the log. So not the cards themselves.
Or names.
Cards.
Yeah, so I would think the names, because they would be in the log, would be.
Can we use it by an employee number? Does an employee have a number?
Yeah, all of us employees have numbers.
Well, perhaps it can be used by employee number to create an extra cushion of protection for them. What do you think of that, Commissioner? I was uncomfortable, but if we can do it by employee numbers, it makes me feel.
Commissioner, this is Diane. I think our employee number log, though, would be subject to disclosure in itself.
Yeah, but the more you stretch it out, the less chance of it being a simple thing that's done to. I worry that it'll be used to hurt people.
Who are vaccinated?
Yes.
Or not.
Yep.
Well, you wouldn't really. I mean, yeah. I mean,
And not to complicate things, but I'm going to. So the courts have expressed a concern with jurors, because jurors are essentially temporary employees, and the courts talked to me about leaving the mask mandate on. And I would say if we do a policy like this or procedure, it would be up to the department head or the elected to say whether they want to open masking up. And the courts were saying, it's really would be difficult for jurors and potential jurors. They would just as soon keep people masked.
Problem with that is they're all our facilities, and we're over facilities. I like the idea of allowing them to do their own thing, but at the same time, we're facilities, and department heads would definitely come underneath the commission for our stuff, because that's how it works. So giving directors a direct responsibility there, I'm not sure would be appropriate.
But even still, the employer of all employees is Mason County. So as the employer, we are responsible for following L&I, as are all electeds. I don't know if there's a distinction there in that one elected may choose to do one thing other than what L&I requests.
So I think the issue would come into play if they wanted to do something less restrictive
Right.
than L&I. I think if they were going to err on the side of maintaining, the masking policy, I think that's more strict than what L&I. I think it's allowable under L&I and wouldn't be less restrictive. So I'm not sure I have that particular concern. Last week, I think when we talked, or 2 weeks ago, whenever we talked about this, I think we asked for there to be some solicitation of the other electeds to get a sense for what their work groups were thinking. And has any of that conversation happened? Is there any information?
Yeah, so I did send that out. I did not get a great response volume wise. A number of officers did say they were ready to open. Let's go ahead and do this. The courts were really the ones that said, hey, we have a little bit of issue with this.
I guess where I get frustrated is we've received the guidance from the state, from L&I, from the CDC, and we're doing nothing. And so, in my opinion, we've got to trust our people, trust our electeds, trust our department heads, and make something happen. I think this whole thing, it frustrates me. I think you guys all know that by now. And I feel like it's further dividing by separating those that have the shot and those that haven't, and those that have had the virus and those that haven't. So for me, let's just follow the guidance that we get from the CDC and from L&I, and let people attest, let department heads follow that. They know better who's in their department, and they can handle it in their department. I see Lisa's on.
Well, I was hoping that as an elected official, I did respond to Dave, but the treasurer's office, my staff is all anxious to start moving forward and getting back to some normalcy, and would really like to follow those guidelines that have been laid out in Washington State. So we're really hoping that the commission will, move forward with a policy that will allow for that. If not, I'm going to start within my own department because we're ready to go.
Yeah, this is a difficult issue for sure. There's, we're not the only ones grappling with, how to roll something like this out. And, so there's maybe that to hang your hat on. But, I think there's a process that L&I outlines. I think we follow that. I think we have people attest to it if they voluntarily attest to it, and just start going down that path. I think it's imperfect, but for people who have gone out and gotten vaccinated and have, been, the 2 weeks out from that second vaccination, they're really champing at the bit to get back to normal. We have to start looking like we're getting back to normal and acting like we're vaccinated, because it is safe and effective. And I think this is a step in that direction. And the unfortunate thing is, we are an employer, and we have those responsibilities to follow, the guidelines, like we would if you were, working out on the road crew and you're wearing high vis and a hard hat. There's L&I guidelines for that work too, that I hope our supervisors and directors and elected officials are comfortable enforcing, because that comes with the territory. And so for lack of a better alternative, I would be in support of moving forward with following the L&I guidelines, and getting people who are vaccinated to unmask.
And I would agree, except for my request was a little bit different, and that was to voluntarily allow disclosure to electeds and directors. For it to come from that point on, not every manager that we have within the county above each other. That was my, my hope is that we can keep it all centralized within each department, except for maybe the sheriff's department, which we may want to allow for their undersheriff, which is the same thing as a director, to be the one responsible at the sheriff's department.
I would be willing just to let the electeds decide who they want to manage that. I think every department knows their department better than we do, and so I would be willing to just let them decide who manages it, as long as it's managed. I don't think that we I don't think that that's a big factor as to who manages, or we dictate who manages it.
Personally, it is to me, because 20 people doing it compared to 10 or 5 is a huge thing. The more we do this, the more we take a chance on interfering with people's personal choices and spreading the word of their personal choices amongst everybody else in the staff. I think we should be prudent and keep it as restrictive as possible to protect all of their interests. That's my belief. Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, I guess my thing with this is just making it simple. It's already obvious that this is, kind of a challenge for us to implement. I think in an ideal world, this would just be run, through HR or risk, and we'd have a centralized point of contact to manage the attestations and the log. I'm concerned, since now it's kind of come out that this would be a disclosable. If we have multiple processes and multiple departments with multiple clearinghouses for the information, I think that presents a challenge. And so my two things are, how can we do this simply, and how can we do this quickly, and try to strike that balance.
Well, if we go strictly through HR, then the people there in the offices won't know who has and who hasn't, unless HR is disclosing it to everybody. That's why the idea of having the director or the elected. If we do the managers or let them pick whoever they want, then, granted, that will also allow for them to be held accountable within each office. But I don't know that the electeds, the ones who are supposed to be accountable, will be held accountable at that point. It'd be somebody else down below them. So I think we're all in agreement that we want to move forward with. I guess the thing we're in disagreement with is to allow them to pick however or whatever they want to do, or to keep it strictly within electeds and directors, with the exception of the undersheriff. And I think, Commissioner Schutte, you're the one in between that has to select which one we want to go by.
This is going to sound really flippant, and I don't intend it to sound as flippant as it's going to come out, but I really don't care. I don't have the same fears that, about managers knowing or not knowing, and I just want to get this done, and do it in a quick, simple, safe way. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll kind of defer to maybe Frank on the HR side and Dave on the public health side on what would be easiest for you all to manage here, to get this rolling.
Well, from a management side, the managers still have to know who is and who is not, because you have people at the front counter and people working next to each other. I guess managers would need to know that. I can get with Frank, and we can certainly get this electronic form up and running. That's not a problem there.
I think the electronic, the thing that if it doesn't delay things unnecessarily, using the electronic form to do the attestation probably is the most appropriate thing to do, because it could go out and then people can opt in that way, and then the enforcement thing is where we have to have some conversation, but at least to get this process started where people can start doing the attestation, and we can gather that and get moving forward.
Well, if they attest electronically, then it still has to be sent back which ones have attested, and it has to be sent back to somebody in the organization. So who would make that determination? Is that, is each staff going to appoint certain people, or they got to put it public on the board to let everybody know this one is, this one isn't? how are we going to do it? Unless, that's why, again, the idea of the directors and the electeds to make the decision. They have the attestation, they know who is and who isn't. If somebody isn't, they call them in their office. Instead of, employees talking amongst each other and saying, hey, this one is, this one isn't. We need to complain, we need to do this. It should be handled directly within the department. I would expect that the treasurer would handle her own staff immediately if they weren't hadn't already attested or shown the vaccination cards. I wouldn't want the person sitting at the counter next to him to make that determination and be arguing with them whether it was satisfactory or not, because it hasn't been 2 weeks according to what they believe.
And to add complexity to complexity, this is a live document. So what you have today is not the same that you'll have tomorrow, is not the same you're going to have next week or 2 weeks from now.
Seems to me the quickest and the easiest thing to do is just let the departments have a log inside their departments that's easy accessible for L&I, and then we can move forward. It seems that would be the quickest way.
Dave, what is the requirement or review of the attestation log?
So it just has to be available if L&I wants to see it.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
So if we have HR manages an attestation log for the entire county, or IT actually would be managing it if we're going to do it online, and available to L&I should they come out. That's one method.
If it originates in the department, then it's sent to them from the department. If it originates through the computer, and then you have to make another copy of who's attested and who has verified in their department, send it back to the electeds.
It might just be easiest if the electeds and department directors take the attestations and once a week turn them into HR.
Yeah.
Perfect. Then let's do that.
I agree with that. I still think that's the best way to do it. Keeps it simple and keeps it as tight as possible. And all I got to do is walk in the door and attest.
Okay, I will go back through this guidance, put something together and shoot it out. You want this to go back through next week, or do you want me to just go ahead and do this?
Do it.
Yeah, I'm ready to move forward.
Okay, will do. And that's all I have.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Dave? Then hearing none, thank you, Dave. We're going to go ahead and move forward to Public Works, Loretta Swanson, Utilities and Waste Management.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
We've got a pretty quick agenda and I see we're running behind, so
Yes, please.
I'll make it short and sweet. And
short form, please.
Elaborate, we can. So first up is a request to submit a grant application, the Local Solid Waste Funding Assistance Program grant. And this is a repeat grant that we do every 2 years. And we're requesting approval to submit.
I'm supportive. Commissioners?
Good with me.
Yep, same.
Okay, next.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Commissioners, Kelly Medcalf went through and realized that our resolution for procuring small works consultant and vendor services is in need of update for some new limits. And so Kelly went through and provided those updates. And we had a quickie call with Kelly Frazier. This is a resolution that applies to other departments as well who use this procurement process, and spoke briefly with both Kelly and Ross. And we're probably missing someone else, but it basically allows a higher threshold for use of our small works roster limits from $300,000 to $350,000. And then for the public work process, $35,000 to $50,000. So
I'm comfortable moving forward. Any questions, Commissioners?
Yep, supportive.
Okay. Next.
All right, that is it. Other than a quickie reminder, we've got the hearing coming up for making changes to our driveway approach requirements. And it's not on here, but we also have a road vacation request that's going before the hearings examiner also coming up. And other than that, the other thing of interest, we're meeting to discuss some of the Moto America event transportation or traffic impacts, and doing that tomorrow with the sheriff's office and with Ridge Motorsports, and also be sending out some notifications for our transfer station folks that if they can hold off on bringing their garbage a different date, that would probably be advisable. And the quickie update. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Loretta. Didn't mean to cut
Oh,
you
I was just going to say the other quickie, our utility crew has been out door knocking out in Allen and advising folks in preparation for our upcoming smoke testing for that system as well. So those are our quickie highlights of what's.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions for Loretta and staff? Hearing none, thank you for making it short, Loretta. You have an awesome day.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next up is our WSU Extension with Dan. Dan, as you can tell, we're a little bit pressed for time, so if you wouldn't mind giving us a very specific version of what you have for us today.
Commissioners, the report is in the packet that you received, just a programmatic update for you. 4-H is doing amazing things right now. 170 lemon battery kits are in partnership with the Skokomish tribe, went out a few weeks ago. What a fantastic opportunity with some great volunteers helping do that STEM education partnership. We did award a $1,000 scholarship to Keely Madison, longtime 4-H'er and leader in our program. She'll be attending Evergreen State College next year, and it's great to see Keely grow up in the program since I've been here and all the wonderful leadership things that she's done. Our small farms program had a tremendous success with home horticulture class, as well as our septic workshops are taking off as well. Master Gardeners had a wonderful plant clinic, a wonderful plant sale, a hybrid model. Pickup was done face-to-face, but all ordering was done online. A tremendous shift in our traditional face-to-face plant sale was done. We did a nice job pivoting there. Looking forward to hopefully a new normal next year with a hybrid of what was successful with the online platform as well as the face-to-face interactions. And they did a wonderful job with the Through the Garden Gate series. 118 participants participated in about 6 online plant clinic training sessions, which is wonderful. And Catalyst Park last year grew 3,367 pounds of produce for the local food bank. So we'll be doing some more growing up there as well for our community. And though Not Just Weed Board does a great job, our weed wrenches are flying out the door for rentals for people pulling Scotch broom and everything else. So I do want to let you know that June 24th, which is Thursday from 2 till 4, you could put on your calendar, swing by our extension office and wish Kathy Fuller a happy retirement. We're going to be holding an open house for her. Just swing by and say thanks for all you've done. 10 years I've worked with her in that program as our coordinator, so it's a challenge to put that date on my calendar. But we are moving ahead with that hiring. The position closes on Wednesday. The hiring committee meets with me tomorrow as we look at applications and move forward with that hire. So I look forward to that.
Dan, is there any possibility you can drop a couple of those lemon battery experiment kits off? If you have any left?
I have to go and look and see how many I have. We probably have some in our office. I can drop off for you.
That'd be pretty cool for some of the kids I deal with. Commissioners, questions, comments?
And one real quick, 2 quick questions. First, what's the time on Kathy's party again?
2 till 4. It's an open house, so people will be stopping by throughout the day, just saying hi.
Excellent. And the other question, I know that you all participated in the opening of the Shelton Farmers Market. And you have a presence there. Do you guys get out to the one in Belfair or the one up in Hoodsport at all? Do you have similar opportunities?
There's opportunities there. I know the SNAP Ed portion of what we do in our office is active in those areas, as well as our small farms program is looking for opportunities to connect with those providers. Kendall Carmen, our small farms person, is in contact with those people, just trying to figure out what they need, how we can help, and all that. Farmers markets are popping up in every small town in our area, which is fantastic. How do you make it all successful, and what is the uniquenesses of each of those?
Great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Harskin Island has incredible food. Their produce there is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Then I thank you very much, Dan, and appreciate you getting it to us in short form. And you actually did it very well. I'm reading through it as you're going through. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. As always, if you have questions or need more information, please reach out. So
awesome. All right, commissioners. Next up is commissioner discussion. We had one earlier. Is there anything else that's come up since then? Then we are going to move into a closed session for labor discussions. Then after that, an executive session, performance of an employee. Right now, I would say we expect to be back at, what would you think, commissioners, 12:15?
Yeah.
And no, we're not expecting any action to be taken. Does that sound about accurate?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so we are going to move over. So Diane, if you don't mind, keep this alive so we can go ahead and jump back on when the time comes in case we need to extend it. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one.